Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, investment, or financial advice. We do not sponsor or endorse any of the individuals, companies, products, or services featured on this podcast. Any statements or opinions expressed are of the individual who makes them. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Prime Life Podcast. This is Joseph Katz, and I'm here with my co-host, good friend, and all-around great human being, Mary Crean. Mary, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joseph, and I really appreciate that introduction. It feels really good. And we are, even though we've seen each other in person only a couple of times, I feel like you're one of my very dear friends. You've always been just amazing. So thank you for that. I'm just going to throw that out there today.
Earned and deserved.
Yeah.
Excited for today's show. We have an interesting topic. So if you want to do the honors of introducing our guest, that'd be awesome.
I certainly will. Since I chatted with Dr. Shivani Gupta, who we're going to be joined here today. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner and a turmeric researcher. She's also the author of the Inflammation Code from Hay House, February 2026. So it's coming soon. Here to share small daily rituals that cool inflammation and restore energy without restrictive dieting. Welcome to Prime Life Podcast, and I'm going to call you Shivani, as I think you said it was okay to do that. Welcome, and please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your story that led you into this work, because it is very, very interesting.
For sure. Thank you for having me. So I grew up living in two worlds. I grew up in Houston, Texas, an immigrant kid who lived the standard American life, that initial life where someone's trying to make their life work, which is what my parents did. They came from nothing and were building a beautiful life for us. And so I was a typical American kid. We'd eat at McDonald's, we'd eat at Taco Bell, we were doing all our activities, eating our best, doing our best. But I kind of had this template of always getting sick, and I'd get colds all the time. We'd go to the doctor all the time. And back in the early 80s, you'd go to the doctor and they'd hand you a prescription for antibiotics. And then you'd get better, you'd move on, and you wouldn't think much of it because that was the method of treating us. And then in the same time period, I started going to India and visiting my grandparents and my cousins. And every time I'd get sick in India, my grandma would just open up the spice cabinet, pull out some spices like turmeric or cumin and different things, make a tea, and I'd get fixed that way. And I always thought, like, who's right? These are two very different approaches to the same problems. One is treating me with spices, one is treating me with medicine. Who's better? And so fast forward, by the time I got to college, I had taken antibiotic 100 times by then. I got really sick once, and I was in India. And I looked at my parents. They were confused. Like, should we hospitalize this girl? We don't know what to do. And so they took me to see a Dr. Gupta. And I remember he said, okay, I know what to do. Here's 13 medicines. You need to take all of these and you'll get better. And there was this voice inside of me that was like, no, we're not doing this again. And so I asked him, you didn't recommend me a probiotic. You need to explain to me what all of those do. And can you dumb down that antibiotics by a couple notches? You guys keep exploding my gut. And I remember my mom looked at me like, you don't talk to a doctor that way. Certainly not a male doctor in India. That's disrespectful. And secondly, why are you questioning treatment? And I said, because I actually need to take care of my body, and this is not working anymore. And now we're sitting here in India, the land of yoga and spices and Ayurveda. Like, I wonder if they have something there for me. And so I went on this quest and went through all these huge detoxes through the centers of Ayurveda, studied that at the guru's feet. Thank God my parents were very successful, burnt out entrepreneurs by then, so they had time and money to humor me through my idea and my quest. And it fixed me. It fixed my gut. It fixed my immune system. And it gave me such hope that we can actually build any level of health we want. It just takes effort and work. And that's when I decided I have to learn this system and then bring it home to all my friends in the West so we can all live a preventive lifestyle. And so that's been the body of my work now for 20 years.
As most of our shows go, this one's going to be great. I love this topic for lots of reasons. For a long time, I still am a big believer and follower in Eastern medicine and Eastern philosophy of health. So I think we're in that direction versus the Western, like pump you up full of prescription drugs and, treat the symptom versus the cause kind of a mentality. But I have to ask, because Mary introduced you as a turmeric researcher. Explain what that is and what you do and why you're doing that, because that's super.
For sure. It sounds unique, right? So I was studying Ayurveda, studied it on my own forever, studied in India, had a really solid understanding of it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to write books. Books are a great way to get information out in the world. Back when I decided that was over a decade ago, so it's changed since then. But I did my master's in Ayurvedic sciences, and I was writing a book back then that I finished on Ayurvedic pregnancy as my thesis. And when I studied, my advisor said, I really think you should get a PhD. And I was like, why? He's like, well, you're surrounded by doctors. You're really interested in medicine. And one big topic that if you get into, you could really write books to change the world and you'd be Dr. Shivani. And I was like, okay, sounds really hard, but okay. And he said, what would you study? I said, well, in herbology class, the way they're talking about these spices is really fascinating. How can cumin do all that? And fennel and cinnamon? This doesn't even make sense. Like in America, we're into our salmon and our spinach and our like hemp seeds and chia seeds. We have other superfoods we're into. How can it be the spices that my family has cooked with forever are so beneficial? And I said, I'm really fascinated by turmeric because if what they say about turmeric is true, then there's zero reasons why we shouldn't be taking that one spice and applying it into all of Western medicine's offices and offering a natural solution alongside everything they're going to offer. I'm one of those people. You can't always drop a pharma solution into me. I need like a gentler approach. So I kind of need both toolkits. And so I embarked on a PhD dissertation on turmeric. It took forever and years. Back then, there were 10,000 scientific studies and papers in PubMed. Now, fast forward, it's like over 17,000 scientific papers. But turmeric is such a fascinating ingredient to me. And now I'm an evangelist of it because I've studied it so much. And I want everyone to know that it is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. And that's why it's being studied at the level that people are studying it. There's this massive movement in science to how do we use this thing better? Where else can we apply it? But turmeric impacts NF-kappa B, TNF-alpha, and over 30 different inflammatory pathways. And so when we're talking about pain, inflammation, all the symptoms of inflammation, turmeric is a very effective tool. Then it's also a powerful antioxidant and reverses oxidation in the system. And so a lot of what we're talking about when we're aging, all the symptoms of aging that we deal with, unfortunately, turmeric can be a powerful support there as well. Then what I thought was cool was it's antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. And with my history of always needing immune defense support and being obsessed with supplements, I was like, okay, if it's that, then we've got true protection. If I travel or if I go to an event or if I feel run down, turmeric can be my defense shield against everything. And then for the last couple of years, I've been speaking at a lot of neurology, orthopedic, different conferences, longevity conferences. And so I've done even more studies into its anti-aging properties around impacting our sirtuins, our AMPK pathways, our telomeres. There's so much science now around it as an anti-aging support because we're going to have cellular decline as we age. That's just inevitable. So the more we slow that down, the better.
I feel like I entered into the middle of a science course with all those terms.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot in there. There's even more. So I'll stop there.
Yeah. Like, how does turmeric really help with anti-aging? And I want to say this too. I have a bottle of turmeric at home and I bought it at store XYZ. Yeah. But also talk about the different types may not be the right word. So yeah, educate us with the anti-aging and the different types of turmeric and what's really going to help us and maybe what's not going to.
For sure. So when you look at the science and you look at the literature, as we age, our cells start to slow down. Our cells get less effective. They get less productive. And one big issue is there's oxidation in our system. It's kind of like a rusting that happens due to all the environmental toxins and stressors that do occur in our lives naturally. And so what's cool about curcumin from turmeric, which we'll get into what that is, but curcumin is one of the extracts inside of turmeric. Turmeric will go in there and function like this ultimate janitor. So it just cleans house on things that are malignant, things that are bad, things that have accumulated, that are kind of gunking up and junking up the system. And what I find so cool about that is it takes out the bad, but it leaves in the good. And so a lot of times when we take antibiotics, for example, we're going to clean out everything, good and bad. Versus turmeric has this intelligence and it'll say, you know what? There's zombie cells here. These are cells just running around, damaging everything. I'm going to clear those out. Or here's a category of cells that need to have cell apoptosis, which just means cell death needs to happen. These need to die and go and be cleared out, and they're just not leaving the house. I'm going to clean them out too, as a good janitor. There's cells here that are malignant. They just don't belong in the system. These are erratic cells that don't belong. I'm going to clean those out too. But I'm going to support a healthy microbiome. I'm going to support healthy bacteria to stay. I'm going to support all the good stuff staying in here. And I'm going to support mitogenesis. That just means our mitochondria being able to form new mitochondria and give us the energy we want. I'm going to support neurogenesis. That just means new brain cells because we want more brain cells, not losing them. And so it's just a very effective janitor and a very effective, let's help you anti-age. Let's give you the support you need so you have the brain and energy going forward. And so what most people don't realize is out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids, 3 to 5%. And we know that piece is the most effective at inflammation and everything I just talked about. So it's important then to go find a supplement that's actually giving you that extract to drive this level of result. So most people say, I do ginger shots. Are those good? Yeah, they're good. Ginger shots, turmeric shots are great. Or they'll say, I sprinkled turmeric on my chicken. That's great. But if you're going to use kitchen turmeric or culinary turmeric, make sure you're adding black pepper or a healthy fat to increase the absorption, or you're not going to get the total benefits. And then finally, moving into the supplement world, when you want to get that real significant effect of turmeric, taking a supplement is the best way to get there.
So I just want to drill into that part for a second, because we've had guests on the show talking about formulations, let's call them, of supplements and so forth. And they're not all created equal. Is turmeric at a purity level, or does it matter where I buy my supplement turmeric, or are there things people should look for when they're buying that bottle? I mean, obviously, if they're buying it for the kitchen, sprinkle on their chicken or their salads or whatever, that's one thing. But like if they're buying the pill form or whatever it takes.
Sure. But there's a huge quality difference in supplements. Years ago, when I was studying, there was an article by the Wall Street Journal that said that up to 75% of the supplements at big box retailers do not have the active ingredient at the level on the label. And that really scared me because I was like, when I buy vitamin D and vitamin C and quercetin and these things, I need them at the level that I'm buying them at. I'm trusting them to help me for my immune system. And so there is a huge variability when it comes to supplements. Nowadays, we know there's a lot of stuff coming from abroad. It's not the highest quality. There's a lot of stuff sold on Amazon. It's adulterated. Like I have bought skincare that came completely fake from really big, good brands. So we are losing a lot of control now of what's coming through Amazon to us. And so that's why about 10 years ago, once I finished the PhD, everyone around me in my medical family was like, that's so cute that you think that turmeric can do all that. And I said, I just did a whole PhD on the topic. I assure you, there's millions of people studying this cool herb and what it can do. I promise it can do what I'm saying. And they're like, no, that's real nice, but supplements can't be trusted. I said, oh, I'm going to make one and I'm going to prove to you that they can be trusted. They can be third-party tested. They can be made in the United States where we have total control over our production. You can partner with really good people who are obsessed with how they supply and build it and how they produce it. And so that's been the body of my work for 10 years, is working with doctors and having them offer it to their patients and then seeing how the patients benefit from taking turmeric.
So I would love for you to drill down a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
What has that look like for you? And if you have one story to share with our audience with someone that has received the benefits.
For sure. So I decided to start with the hardest door in medicine, which is orthopedic surgeons. Picked the wrong door. It took me a long time to get through that market, but it's been beautiful because an orthopedic surgeon, when they see someone, that is someone who's really in pain. That's someone who's coming in and saying, I've tried PT. I can't take NSAIDs every day forever. I know they're doing harm to me. I don't want to have surgery. Like, what do I do? And so to open the mind of that person that, hey, there's natural options on the table that you can offer has been really gratifying. So for 10 years, I've had orthopedic surgeons who tell their patients, you could take turmeric for that. Yes, I've got stronger stuff. I'm going to give that to you too, but this might hold you pain-free. And so the biggest stories I hear are from people who have hip pain, knee pain, back pain. They had given up golf. They had given up working out. They couldn't go for long walks. They couldn't really stay mobile and keep their exercise going for their metabolism and health. And so I have one lady in particular who I met years ago, and she wanted to always climb up the stairs to get to her Bible study. And she said, Shivani, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I stopped going to Bible study, and I really loved being with those people. And she's like, now I can go up the whole flight of stairs pain-free. And that is such a good feeling. And I had another lady who had stopped traveling, and she loved to travel. She was single. She just didn't feel safe to travel because of her joints and everything. And she took it and she's like, Shivani, I went to Cuba myself and I had an amazing time. So those are the kinds of stories that I find so cool, that if we give ourselves mobility, if we get rid of that joint stiffness that we wake up with, if we get out of pain, if we have good muscle recovery, we can get back into the gym and stay really mobile. That's very physical. And then at a truly cellular level, we're doing so much more than that as well.
Well, kudos, because get a doctor or surgeon, no less, to go away from the hammer hitting the nail, and you're sort of offering them another tool in the toolkit. It's that's impressive. So building on those stories that you just shared, is this obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but what's the timeline? Like, I take some turmeric. Do I take it daily? Do I take it weekly? Like, how frequently is it going to happen? In a week, a month, a year? Like, give us some of your research information.
And we'll get that answer after a brief word from our commercial sponsors.
NASA is always working harder to be your carrier of choice. We offer insurance products that can help you meet your retirement goals, such as protecting your savings, securing lifetime income, or paying for healthcare costs. We're dedicated to providing best-in-class service and are keeping things simple, and we'll have your back. We have around 400,000 policyholders and contract holders and have been doing this for a long time, 170 years. But we remain humble enough to always try to improve. For more information, visit nfg.com. Nassau insurance products are issued by Nassau Life and Annuity Company of Hartford, Connecticut, Nassau Life Insurance Company, East Greenbush, New York, or Nassau Life Insurance Company of Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. Subsidiaries of Nassau Financial Group. Products are not available in all areas. Policyholder counts are for all Nassau companies as of September 30th, 2022, and are subject to change.
Sure. So typically, if you look at the literature, it talks about taking 500 milligrams of curcumin twice a day. That's like a very standard dose that we know is effective. And so when I built my formulas, I went for that standardized dosage. And then I also built a second formula that's much more synergistic with all the herbs from ancient Ayurveda and pulled them together to show people, look, we have a lot of herbs and spices actually that are really effective. And that's why I call them the super spices, is boswellia, amla, ginger, like that list can keep going in terms of its efficacy. Most people, when they take a good turmeric supplement, within 3, 5, or 7 days, they'll start to feel something. And sometimes they can enunciate what that is and tell you. And sometimes they're like, I just feel better. I have a little more energy. And I think a lot of that comes from waking up with less stiffness, less overall joint pain. But what I think is interesting is when we talk about inflammation, most people don't realize that chronic low-grade persistent inflammation is this forest fire inside of us. And all of us have it to some level because of the level of environmental toxins and stressors in our life. And so addressing that inflammation and cutting down on that forest fire is going to help us on a systemic level with so many things, not just the joint health. But to answer your questions, about a week, people tell me, yep, I'm feeling better. Things are good. And then usually people call me when they leave town and they're like, I forgot to take my formulas with me. And then I realized what it was doing for me, because the difference, that contrast is pretty big. And so it's different for everybody, but usually a week.
Is that with or without, traditional medications, for their like pain or whatever?
It's a good question. It depends on the person. Sometimes someone will call me and say, I'm taking opioids for my back. Will this work? And I'm like, no, that's elephant and mouse. We are talking about very different proportions here. Here's what I can tell you. I know the science of turmeric. You can add turmeric on board and get beautiful support for systemic inflammation. Can I cut pain from a 10 to a 0? Probably not. Let's be really honest. But can I take pain in some people from like a 7 to a 2? Yes, we can do that with turmeric. We know that. And so that's what's been cool to see is a lot of my orthopedic docs are like, Shivani, I can't believe it. My patient was taking this and now they only take your formula. That's insane. I can't believe they came off of what I gave them for 10 years. They took that medication. And so that's where I love to see those switchovers. And nowadays we're, post-pandemic, so many people are looking for what is my natural toolkit. And if I need the bigger heavy hitter toolkit, I'll go there. And I'm a big believer in when you need a surgery or you need a medication, go take it. But let's talk about all the prevention opportunities we have in life. And let's start there. Let's talk about an anti-inflammatory lifestyle that we can build that includes good supplements, that includes good sleep, that includes good diet, that includes good micro habits, and how that stack up is going to lead to longevity and quality of life and mobility in the long run.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that in because I was thinking again, this is scattershot with some of these individuals. Are they active? Do they exercise? With the strength training, with cardio or whatever else they do, what is the other piece of their diet? Also, again, sleep. You talk about sleep. And we've had quite a few guests on our show, correct, Joseph, that have talked about the importance of sleep. And I recently had coffee with an old colleague of mine, and he was saying, so he's like an exerciser. He does yoga. He just started yoga, actually. And we were talking about the importance of sleep. And we didn't talk about turmeric, but we will be talking about it more. And again, as you and I chatted earlier, I've been thinking a lot about it in terms of, but I also recognize what you said, that there are the big box stores where, again, we're not getting exactly what we need out of it. And when Joseph asked the question, how long does it take you to essentially see results or feel results, I should say, what I'd love for you to talk about, without giving it away, because I know you haven't launched your book yet, can you give us some high level, guideposts or, just information that you would like our listeners to kind of get ready for when your book does come out? And we did talk about that when it does, we can have you back on so that they can kind of get ready to look forward to what's in store.
For sure. And speaking one last thing on turmeric that you mentioned, yes, what happens is a lot of us buy a lot of supplements, but we don't feel anything. And that's tough because then it's hard to stay compliant if you don't feel anything. I have that with a lot of the supplements I take. I'm like, is this doing anything or not? So when it comes to Ayurvedic botanicals now, we have them so well studied and so well dialed in and so well extracted. You should feel a difference for what you're taking. It should be doing something for you, unless you're truly not inflamed and truly winning and there's nothing to address. And so a lot of people tell me they've been taking turmeric for years, they felt nothing, and then they took mine and now they feel a difference. I'm like, okay, that just comes down to quality. And we have so much variation of quality on the market right now, but those who build for doctors' offices are really seeking that high potency, high effective platform level for people. And so that's why you see more change in those kinds of supplements. But in the book, my dream was to show everyone that Ayurveda is a beautiful ancient wisdom and preventive lifestyle that we can all bring into our lives through micro habits. We're all busy, we're working, we've got our responsibilities, maybe our family responsibilities. Modern day life kind of keeps us on this hamster wheel of so much going on and so much to do. But how do we build in anchor points throughout the day? I call them mindful moments, or we take the pauses we need, get ourselves out of sympathetic mode, out of stress, fight, or flight mode, and just drop into what I'm now calling rest mode, because sometimes you just need to shut your brain down and not think so much about the long to-do list that's coming at you. And so I teach something simple called tea time is me time. And that's a simple habit. It could be coffee, it could be any beverage. But in the corporate world, people love when I say tea time because it's like a hot beverage. It's very soothing. And it creates this moment where you're allowing for your vagus nerve, for your body to drop into parasympathetic, drop into your rest, digest, and nourish mode. And it's a good opportunity to check in with your intuition and check in with yourself and ask yourself some pretty powerful questions like, how am I feeling today? Have I left some space to take my supplements and eat today? A lot of times my intuition's like, you didn't leave room to eat dinner and you didn't handle this thing that's important. And so that information is very important. Or we take it as a true rest mode, kind of put down all the baggage of the day and take a moment for us. Because otherwise, through social media and everything we're consuming, we're creating this system that I coined in the book called mental inflammation. And mental inflammation is the idea that we are so wrapped up in this monkey mind, allowing ourselves to be so stressed 24/7, all day, and then sometimes all night in our sleep as well. And so, when are we giving the opportunity to the system to heal, to clean and clear inflammation, which happens in our sleep, and for the body to be at rest and actually digest all the good things we're doing? Otherwise, we're doing a lot of good stuff. In my case, and most of my clients are strength training, doing yoga, walking, weighted vests, taking good supplements, eating fresh, good food. But all of that is erased if the system is always in mental inflammation mode and the system is running so much inflammation. And so that's the thesis of the book is let me show you the 6 pillars of Ayurvedic wisdom. And let me show you different simple, inexpensive, free ways to live according to your circadian clock, to eat a diet that truly nourishes you, that's circadian in nature. Let me show you how to clear mental inflammation with little micro habits that feel good. And then let's talk about self-care rituals from Ayurveda that are very detoxing and supportive as well. And then I do teach about the spices. They are one of my favorite topics. I'm like, let's use more spices in our life. Just that alone is going to be anti-inflammatory as well.
I would have never guessed you were passionate about spices. not I must be ahead of my time because I definitely do that during the day where I will, usually at the end of the day, I'll tell my family, like, I just need to shut down for a few minutes. Like, let me be. I just go, don't talk to me. I don't want anything. And what, not like necessarily meditation, just calm, like tea time, to use your words. You also, you threw out a lot of topics at us. We could probably have a whole thing about brain inflammation because you talked about the neuro cells and stuff. We obviously don't have all day to have this conversation, but I think Mary's right. We're going to have you back because this is fascinating stuff. I'm still curious. I'm going to drill back into this, into the nutrients and the supplements. Like what, and we've had guests on who do like DNA specific supplementation, and I forgot the term already, but it's like even further down. Like what's the right mix? Like what do I take, a certain amount of turmeric with a certain amount of ginger and a certain amount of vitamin C or D or B or whatever it might be? Like obviously you can't give everyone a one-to-one consultation here on a podcast, but like what should people be thinking about like as a mix?
It's a great question. I got this question today. Someone booked a private call with me just to ask me that. And I was like, such an interesting question. I consider it daily stack. What do you need right now to heal yourself? And what are you looking at for optimization based on your optimization goals? And so in my daily stack, I am right now taking a very good one with iron and different minerals and things, because I can't assume that my food is going to give me the vitamins and minerals I need nowadays. Then I take vitamin D like it's my job. I'm always deficient in vitamin D. So that's like necessary. And if you look at most people's blood work, we are majority of us deficient. Then I take turmeric gold. That's my insurance policy. So I can reduce my systemic inflammation. Everything in the system will work better. So I take that as my, immune support, my anti-aging support, and my brain support and everything else. Then I take vitamin B. So I take a B complex because I need a methylated B complex. I'm vegetarian. So my diet I know will forever keep me deficient in certain things. And so that's like my mandatory stack with very good probiotics, because gut dysbiosis, gut-brain axis, if our gut microbiome is affected, which nearly all of ours are nowadays affected, we're going to stay inflamed. We're going to have leaky gut or different gut issues. So that's like my mandatory stack for everybody. And I don't think any of us doesn't need those. It's rare for us to be optimized in a lot of the basics. Then there's like a, what are you dealing with right now? And so I refer a lot to functional medicine, where if anyone's dealing with any health issues, I'm like, let's go over to functional medicine. Let's order some stool tests. Let's order some real big blood tests. And let's come to understand, where are you at right now? Because if you're feeling run down or not like yourself, there's a reason. Let's get to that root cause. And so I usually have like 10 supplements I'm taking based on what we know I'm deficient in the moment. And that's usually the work I have to do. And then I'm lucky, I get to go to all the best longevity, biohacking, functional medicine conferences. I get to meet all the nutraceutical companies, and I get to learn about all the cool things they're creating. And so I have a whole stack called longevity. Like, where are we going to play with peptides? Where are we going to play with really high dosing with better minerals? So I play a lot in that space as well, but I consider that for fun, for optimization, for what are my goals in any given season. While the mandatory stack is mandatory, I won't leave my house and I will not travel without it. And then deficiencies, we have to constantly look at, where do we need to do some work? Do we need to add in a lot more probiotics? Are we deficient in iron? Like, there's a lot of things that we may not realize are simple fixes, and nutraceuticals can give us what our food is just not giving us. The food lacks nutrient density. We know that. And so where can we support the system for that cellular health that we want?
And obviously gender plays into that, right? Women
Correct.
need different things than men, and age and DNA and so on and so on. I mean, so, I'm going to hand this over to Mary for our final question of the day, but I think we could definitely, Mary, have like a whole series of podcasts on this topic.
That's why I think it's a really good idea to have you come back
anytime
when your book is being launched. I think the timing will be good. We can talk about, without giving it away, because I'm sure you want people to buy a copy, but kind of like high level. We ask all of our guests this question. You're bright, you have your PhD. Really, you could do anything at all that you want in your life. You have a family, you're very busy. Why do you get up every day and do what you do, Shivani?
Ooh, I get up every day because I don't want anyone to grow up with the struggles that I had. I was not only sick, but I saw my entire family spend the last quarter of their lives passing away from and struggling with their health. So it was Parkinson's, leg amputations, heart attacks, strokes. And I thought, this can't be the path we all choose. We can't work, all of us, for 3/4 of our life, and then that's the last quarter when we're meant to go retire and be in Europe and enjoy our best life. And so to me, every day I am waking up to say, hey guys, we can do better. We know better. There are easy ways to win at our health, and we must invest in our health. That is how we're going to be our happiest, healthiest self, and that's how we're going to give to others. So that's what gets me up every morning, is this wisdom was gifted to me. And so it's my duty to gift it to the world.
I have to say, this has been
I love that answer.
Sorry. I have to say, this has been a very informative, interesting, engaging conversation. So I'm looking forward to your next appearance on our show.
Yeah.
In the meantime, can you tell our listeners the best way to get in touch with you? Mary will put all your contact information in our show notes. But if you can just tell them, if it's a website or email, whatever you prefer, people to get in touch with you if they have questions or want to explore your products or services.
For sure. So my website is my name, ShivaniGupta.com. And on there, you'll find my podcast, the Fusionary Health Podcast. I have lots of free cookbooks and quizzes and guides and programs and things for people. And then my supplement company is there, Fusionary Formulas. And I made a special code for your audience. Prime Life will give them 15% off at Fusionary Formulas if they want to try it out.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Dr. Shivani, it's been a real pleasure getting to listen to you. I'm actually curious about your PhD. I'm going to go see if I can find that online.
Yeah.
Your paper.
You'll see tons of articles, tons of videos. I've talked about turmeric for 10 years. I'm just obsessed. And
There's probably no one that knows more about turmeric than you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and I want to do more science. Like, that's the legacy I want to leave, is like double-blind placebo-controlled trials that without a doubt prove my point across all systems of medicine.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Mary. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you taking the time today, helping organize the show, etc. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tell a friend, suggest any guest you'd like us to speak with. Give us a thumbs up, a heart, a like, whatever it is on whatever platform you're finding us. And until next week, we look forward to our next great episode of the Prime Life Podcast. Thanks all.
Remember to subscribe to the Prime Life Podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can find all of our episodes, contact information, and more on our website, primelifepodcast.com. Stay connected with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.